Welcome to another edition of the Throwing Bagels Podcast. I am Jason Hamo alongside my co-host Kevin Mooney. Kevin, how you doing?
Hi, Jason. I am good. Yourself?
I am doing very well, thank you. And Chris Douglas. Chris, how are you tonight?
Hey, Jason, what's going on?
Not much, not much. We have another great guest for you this evening. Another Oswego alum, News Channel 9 Storm Team meteorologist, John DiPasquale. John, how are you?
Doing good, doing well. A nice little thaw today, brief thaw. Felt good to actually, walk outside and not, have your breath taken away by the
Yeah,
cold.
no
How's
kidding.
that cold? How's that cold in Syracuse right now? Is it killing you at this
Well,
point?
it's been a normal winter.
Yeah.
That's what it's been, right? And
Back
we're
to
not
normal.
used to it.
Yeah.
So when yesterday was was Groundhog Day, right? And Punk's Tony Phil saw his shadow, which means we're gonna have another 6 more weeks of winter, so they say. However, Phil's predictions, some people may say they're trashy. The far more accurate groundhog, though, is from my neck of the woods, Staten Island Chuck, and he said spring is gonna come early. So
Mm.
which one is correct? How do we know which one to believe?
Well, Jason, so it's funny. My chief meteorologist Jim Teskey crunched some numbers over the years, and you know, okay, so you've got the years he sees his shadow, years he doesn't see a shadow. Is there a difference over the years with the snowfall amounts? End up being a wash within 2 inches of each
Wow.
other.
Wow.
52 when he sees his shadow, about 51 when he doesn't see it. So we're talking
Okay.
an inch difference, basically, maybe inch and a half it was. And then temperature wise, it was a little bit colder when he sees his shadow compared to when he doesn't. But bottom line, it was kind of like a wash there. So, a rodent, gets pulled out of his hole in front of a gobbler's knob, and people go crazy, and he's a little nervous, shaking, and it's a fun thing. I think it's a lot of fun, and people have a good time with it. But as far as the accuracy goes, I mean, there's not
Yeah.
much weight to it. I mean, Staten Island, maybe Chuck is, I don't know, maybe his record's a little bit better than Puxatawny, but we like to think that we can give you a little bit better forecast long term
Do
than
do
the
me
rodent.
do meteorologists kind of look at him and be like, oh, really? We got to look at this kid, this thing again every
Every
year
year.
on February 2nd. Can we just stop with this guy already?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have fun with it. I call it ground piggy, the groundhog. It's a good time. I mean, I have fun with my anchors with it, and my coworkers, they all laugh, and they harass us sometimes a little bit. It's all in good fun, and yeah, folklore, right? I mean, how long they've been doing this for, what, 100 something odd years?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Some crazy.
Some crazy, yeah. So I think people, anytime they can, latch onto something, especially by the middle of winter, right? We're kind of on the downside, starting to go on the downside of winter. They can latch onto whatever they can that maybe get this rodent doesn't see a shadow like last year. It
Yeah.
was a warm winter last year, right? So his predictions were kind of right last year. But anytime they can latch onto something, they'll just do it. Yeah, it works. This meteorologist, they don't know what they're doing. Come on,
We'll
giving
just
us
trust
this
the
bad
groundhog
news.
going forward from now on. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. We're not trusting those meteorologists there.
So are longer term forecasts becoming a little bit more difficult to predict these days, given the volatility in weather patterns?
Yes, and I think our technology has gotten better, so that makes it easier in some ways. But at the same time, maybe when you get a stronger storm, the variability can be more significant.
Mm.
So like from one spot to another. So, right, so you get an extreme storm that dumps like, a couple feet of snow, and you get this cutoff where that heavy snow is going to line up. If, say, it's in the big cities downstate, and then upstate, you get really nothing. So maybe a little bit more variability because of that too. And with the storms, with the warmer temperatures as a whole, the climate warming, I think that's kind of caused some shifts and less snow, right, as a whole. I mean, this winter in central New York is the first winter that we've had, closer to normal snowfall in Syracuse in 6 years. It's been a
Wow.
long time. We haven't had 90 inches or more of snow since 2018, 2019, that winter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which was unprecedented. That's never happened in recorded history. You got to go back to the early 1900s, 1902, when records started being kept in Syracuse officially. And it's never happened where we had more than, I think it was more than 3 winters where we didn't hit 90, at least 90 inches. So we did it not only three, we did it 5 times, 5 consecutive years
Oh, that's
with
crazy.
not reaching 90 inches.
And it
And
was
people that don't like
wonderful.
snow and like it warmer are like, I love this. This is great.
It was wonderful.
This is like the new Harrisburg or Mid-Atlantic, Central New
Yeah,
York.
right.
So I'm a snow lover. I love the seasons, 4 seasons, and that's why I plan on remaining in the Northeast. Um, but uh, but yeah, it's nice to see a normal winter this year, and the question then becomes, is this just a blip, right? Is this just a blip, and we go back to
Yeah.
warm winters after this winter? Or is this something that will, okay, we're starting to, kind of balance things out. We'll have a few now really aggressive winners, or more normal winners compared to what we just came out of the last 5.
I know there was an article on News Channel 9's site that January got more snow, but it was also warmer.
Yeah, still
Uh,
warmer than average. Right,
Weird.
right. Crazy, right? And that doesn't happen. Yeah, right. It's usually if you get more snow, typically it's gonna be colder than average. And we haven't had a colder than average month in Syracuse now, and since November of 2023. So it's what? That's 14 consecutive months of above average temperatures.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
right. So
Even
it's
recently, even with the recent cold
right.
snap that
Well,
we
yeah,
had.
right. So those numbers were crunched, the last few, like last week or so, last couple weeks. Chief Meteorologist, Jim Teskey and I were looking at numbers and such, and the average high was like a degree below normal, but the average low, this is for January, but the average low for January, so factoring all 31 days lows, right?
Hmm.
Multiply it by 31 for the lows, and you
Mhm.
get your number, which was 3 degrees above normal. So lows were mild, and you can
Wow.
thank the extra cloud cover and the lake effect. So we had a lot of lake effect in January. There wasn't really many storms. It was mainly just lake effect,
Yeah.
and we had wind too. So we had wind and cloud cover with the
Mhm.
lake effect, and that helped keep temperatures up compared to what they otherwise would have been. If we had more
Interesting.
clear sky, with little to no lake effect or less lake effect around, it would have been much colder at night, and then we would have had a below average month.
Uh,
So
Your career as a meteorologist, it's been there. There was a little stop in Massachusetts, but other than that, it's been in upstate New York throughout this whole time. And based on the data you've seen over the years, what do you think a winter is going to look like in this neck of the woods in another 10 to 15 years?
well, as a snow lover, I hope it goes back to, more normal winters, and we get some nice snow. I mean,
Mhm.
we haven't really seen some good classic nor'easters here in central New York with a 1-2 punch. And what I mean by that is you get the storm snow, and then you get the lake effect behind it. We haven't seen
Mhm.
many of those, and this is what I love, right? This is why I do what I do. Um, it's been a while, and when we've gotten the storm, like in recent years, it melts within a few days or a week.
Yeah.
And those monster lake effect events in Buffalo and Watertown, the last several winters that they've gotten, like they're the ones that have gotten some snow the last, 3, 4, 5 winters, while we here in Central New York haven't seen a lot, or much. Even their feet of snow, like 4, 5, 6 feet of snow in a lake effect snow event that, over the course of 2, 3, 4 days, has been gone within a week, week and a half.
wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that you couldn't even fathom. You couldn't even imagine that would happen, 5, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. You get that kind of snowfall, and you're thinking, okay, well, this snow's gonna be on the ground for weeks, if not months here, more often than not, instead of just melting away like within a week or two. I am a true believer. Climate change, absolutely, that's happening, but I do believe Mother Nature has a way of balancing things too.
Mhm.
And I do think we'll have, over the course of the next 5 winters, we'll have more snowier ones than not. That's my prediction. But at the same time, my confidence, based on what we just came out of these last 5 winters, something I've never seen in my lifetime here in Central New York, is lower, that we'll see more normal winters ahead, like more
Mhm.
often than not. So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess my hope is that we'll see 3 out of 5 be snowier than normal, and I think we might. Um, but at the same time, because of the overall trend we've seen with temperatures and the milder winters we've been seeing, it wouldn't surprise me if we had more milder winters than not
Mm.
in the next 5, 10 years.
During your forecast this past Sunday, you referenced some temperatures that were provided by several weather watchers across central New York.
Mhm.
How important is it that these weather watchers, when it comes to preparing your weather segment?
It's huge. Having ground truth is so important. And that's what we rely on our viewers for. When they send those in via email, or even occasionally it'll be a viewer that calls the temperature in or snowfall amount. Social media too. We have the chat. I use the National Weather Service chat, which there we get snowfall amounts from them as well. Um, it's without our viewers giving us those reports, because sometimes the radar shoots over this lake effect snow, or the snow that's falling from clouds that are shallow in the atmosphere. So the radar beam shoots over the clouds and the snow, and it's snowing like light to moderately with lake effect, and say maybe in Baldwinsville, right? Because we don't have our
Mm.
own radar. So we've got the National Weather Service radars, one in Montague, one in Binghamton, and one in Buffalo, another one in Albany. And those are farther away, right? So you get the beams that go out, and as they go out from the radar site itself, they go higher and higher up into the atmosphere. So the farther you're away, the shallow, if you get lake effect, that can be very shallow in the atmosphere, like the lowest 5,000 feet, that radar beam shoots over those snowflakes or the precipitation, shows nothing. Meanwhile, it's snowing, and people are like, "Oh, it's terrible over here. What the heck? Your radar's not showing anything." So that's why it's important for our viewers to get us that information, let us know, "Hey, this is what's going on," just so you know.
Do you guys
Yeah.
have cameras that you use, that are situated that show different areas that you can, so you'll see, obviously if you don't have like the radar, but you can see, oh, it's snowing over here or whatever and things like
Right.
that.
And that's we'll do that too. We use that as well. So we have our Skynet 9 camera network. We have one in Beeville, in the Baldwinsville area. We have one in Oswego. We have one from the zoo in Syracuse. We have another in Morrisville, one in Auburn. We have one in Pompey, a camera there. We have our tower camera in downtown Syracuse. We have one in Watertown. So we use all that camera, that network of cameras to also help us too, as our eyes. So, because there's nothing worse as a meteorologist than being talking on air. Oh, it's nice and quiet or whatever. And then you get an email shot to you, you're like, sorry, it's snowing. I'm like, oh gosh. All right, yeah. So the radar is not showing anything. Then I got to go through the explanation. The beam shooting over the snowflake. So it is snowing in this area, just so you know. If I have a suspicion that it might be happening, I'll be like, yeah, there might be a little snow falling here. The radar, might be shooting over it. Just heads up on that.
Mm.
But yeah, so yes, it's so important to have our viewers report that stuff to us.
So when viewers are watching you on television, they see, a few maps, you're pointing to some areas of, temperatures and whatever's going on weather-wise. But explain what's involved with putting together that forecast for that few minutes and like how much prep time you need.
Yeah, so it depends on the weather, right? If it's quiet, high pressure, blue sky, no, big bubble, no trouble, you can probably prepare a forecast in 20, 30 minutes pretty quickly. And it's less prep time for the forecast part. Then we've got our graphics, some are automatically updating like the radar, the satellite, temperature data. But we'll make some forecast graphics, like a moving fronts, we call it. So it shows where the fronts are and the areas of high pressure and low pressure. And we kind of situate the graphics and kind of tailor make it to what we want to talk about, right? For our presentation. Now, when there's severe weather or more active weather, like in the wintertime, like there's been the last several weeks, basically, it's been very busy in the weather office for all of us meteorologists in upstate New York. Yeah, it can take, I mean, I'll spend sometimes 45 minutes to an hour easy doing
Wow.
it. Yeah, looking at forecast stuff. Sometimes I go a little bit too deep and I'm just like, okay, just don't keep looking. Because you get too deep into the weeds, then you forgot what you looked at in the beginning. So yeah, I try to limit that to like, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes maybe. But and then I'll do more, and then as my shift goes on, I'll kind of look at new information coming in and go through other things. But yeah, I feel like all of us meteorologists at News Channel 9 and every station does this, has their routine, right? You get into a routine, things you get used to and looking at that serves you the best, and you feel comfortable delivering a forecast and putting it together, and that's kind of and there's no wrong or right way, right? As long as you're more accurate than not, it's hard as I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I learned at a young age coming out of Oswego State that it's science. It's science. There's nothing exact. You're not going to be perfect. And I used to get so mad when my forecast would be off. I'm like, I don't understand it. Why did that happen? So that's what drives me to this day. If the forecast, and I mean, everybody, it's never going to be perfect. Then you just try to learn from your experiences and mistakes, right? And you're like, okay, why did that happen? And try to be better for it next time.
Do you ever
It's
want
like
to
pattern
mess with
recognition.
Sorry. Do you ever want to
Sorry,
mess with
sorry.
your viewers and like put like memes up instead of like weather maps?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I mean, I've the phrase I've heard most in my career since becoming a meteorologist, when I walked across that stage at Oswego State many moons ago, the phrase I get most said to me, must be nice to have a job you can be wrong about half the time and still get paid for it. And I'm like, yep. So that is now, I see, I'm multi-millionaire. I get a penny for every time I heard that. I'm a multi-millionaire. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you
right.
very much. It's yeah, it's crazy the amount of times I hear that. But it's all in good fun. I think when I was younger, and you guys probably you understand this, you're more sensitive, right? When you're
Mhm.
like kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
I gotta make sure I'm doing everything, and
Yeah.
and when people take a dig at you, you get shooken up a little bit more than I do now. Now I just kind of like, I mean, it still bothers you, obviously, you get somebody that slams you, but it's
Mhm.
not doesn't sting like it did, 20 years ago.
Kind of depending
Yeah.
on who it comes from.
That too. That's true. Yep. Yep. I get
Uh,
people sometimes talking about the way I'm dressing, you know. It's like, yeah, I know.
I mean,
Hey, your suit doesn't fit. Get a new jacket, or something. And I'm like, yeah, I
People
gotta
people
get
have way too much
tailored.
time on their
I mean,
hands.
honestly,
I
like,
mean, right. Listen, I mean, I understand I'm in the public eye, and so I can't I get that, right? You put yourself out there, that can happen. And it does happen. So you definitely grow a thicker skin in this industry. You have to, otherwise you're not gonna last.
your tie doesn't match.
Yeah, yeah, right. What's going on with your hair? What's wrong with your hair?
I
You
mean,
How
know?
dare you wear black and blue at the same time?
And my girlfriend's a fashionista, so I ask her, I'm like, is this cool? This works, right? If I'm pushing the envelope sometime, and she's like, yeah, it works. Or she's like, yeah. But so it's but yeah, it's I don't know. I try to have fun with it. That's what I always say to when I give presentations and go to groups and talk
Mhm.
is if I feel like if I'm having a good time doing what I do, then the viewer can
Yeah.
hopefully is having a good time
yep.
and is can lock in more so. Because I mean, I always tell people too when I'm giving the presentations, especially like kids, students, do something you love to do. Find something you like, at least like,
Hmm.
and because you're gonna be doing it like at least 40 plus hours a week,
Yeah.
for 40 years of your life. So
You could always be that like crazy dressing, weather guy. So like put yourself out there and be that like, you
Don
know,
Cherry style,
exactly.
shock factor, right?
Yeah.
Walt Frazier.
Because then you can wear whatever you want. People will be like, oh, well, that's just his style. You know
It's
what I
just
mean?
right. You get away with it more. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. My bosses, because I've in the past, they've gotten a little bit more relaxed with it. But in the past, when I started at News Channel 9, things were a little bit tighter. I think it's, you're new, you want to make sure you're not be a little more conservative. But over the recent last, I'd say a few years or so, it's been a little bit more, a little more relaxed, which I enjoy because I like to play a little bit and have some fun. And News Channel 9 is a fantastic organization there. It's great people, great management over there. I feel very fortunate to have landed here at News Channel 9. I've been here now about almost 8 years now. So it's been a good setup. And I grew up watching Channel 9 when I was a
Oh,
kid.
okay.
So Dave Eichhorn was my mentor.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so he was who I would watch religiously, and I loved how he told his story, his weather story and presentation every night. And I watched Dave Longley, I watched Jim
Mhm.
Teskey, and to be working now with my chief, Jim Teskey, it has definitely been an honor. And it's been great. It's been fun. It was funny at first, right? You watch these people and then you end up you're working with them. It's kind of a little bit of shock value at first, but yeah, it's been great.
Oh, and like working with Rod Wood
Oh, Rod was
was
hilarious.
is
Rod was a
amazing.
treat. You just never knew you were gonna get. And
Yeah.
the stuff he would talk crazy stuff, joking around, making weird blah, 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 all these noises, and people were like, "Well, what?" And everybody's laughing. And then they're like, "Five, four, three," and then he'd be talking literally up to almost the last second, and then stop on a dime, and boom, serious story, locked right in. You would never know he was doing that before. I was like, no, unless you work with Rod, you don't know the real Rod. Rod's wild. He's crazy. He's nuts. And if it was even a very somber environment, he'd kind of lighten things up, lighten the mood up before we'd have to go on air.
Mhm.
He had a gift with that. He definitely did.
No,
I miss him. He was great to work with. He retired back in 2020. COVID forced him kind of to retirement,
mm,
like it did so many.
but
Yeah.
it was, I mean, I was at Channel 9 from, just about a year and a half ish from
So
'08
yeah,
to
you know
'09.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rod Wood and Carrie
Yep.
Lazarus and Jeff Kulikowski and just so many
Christy.
talented people, Christy Cassiano, of course.
Yep. Yep.
And but the weather for it, like the weather people you mentioned, Dave Eichhorn, Dave Longley, Jim Teskey, they all have Oswego ties
Right.
in
They
one way or
do.
another,
Yep.
which is,
Yep.
it's amazing.
Yeah. I feel like I always tell people that, that are trying to decide where they want to go to college, right?
Mm,
I go, listen, I can't tell you. Obviously, I'm biased, yes, but you get such great bang for your buck at Oswego State. If there's so many great programs there at Oswego, and you get more one-on-one attention than you would at a bigger school, right? And you're not, and the debt you'll be going to a private
mm,
school, obviously, or so. Everybody does what they want, obviously, but if there's a decision to be made, I mean, I thought the education was fantastic, and all the great times and experiences I had at Oswego right on Lake Ontario. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
mm.
It was a great 4 years up there I had. And I would think that you guys probably would echo that, right?
For sure.
Definitely.
I mean, everybody
Agreed.
has their moments, right? Their stress moments,
Yeah.
but it was such a good place.
How many Oswego grads kind of make their way through, News Channel 9?
A lot. I think Oswego, Ithaca, and Cortland are the three most popular schools where people work. With people I work with at NewsChannel, that's where they come from. Those are the
Mhm.
three most popular schools. SU, yes, there's some of them, yes,
Mhm.
but I'd say Oswego, Cortland, and Ithaca are your three main ones. And I always say when I'm promoting Oswego, oh, sorry, Kevin.
Mhm. No, go ahead.
I as if you're interested in doing weather, meteorology. It doesn't get better than that. You've got a weather lab in your backyard, Lake Ontario. You
Yeah.
got water spouts, lake effect developing right before your eyes. Thunder, snow. You get wild weather, winds gusting over 80 to 90 miles an hour. I remember almost getting knocked over one time. I was walking back from Snig Hall down to Scales, and the wind was blowing so hard, and I was literally getting pushed down the sidewalk on
Yeah.
ice. I was like, "Well, this is fun. I have no control."
We've been there.
Been there.
Oh,
We're trying to open a door when the door is being
yes.
shut down,
Yes.
shutting the
Yes.
other way
Yes.
while you're trying to open it.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. It was wild, right?
Like I remember days when I lived in Seneca Hall
Yes.
and
The
walking.
rope's still there?
No, not at that time, but I know they were coming around the corner, like coming back from class, walking to
There's that
Oh,
little
on the
bridge.
way to Seneca on your left and trying to
Yeah.
get your way in front of the building. Sometimes you had to just stand there for a
yeah.
while and
Yeah.
let the
Yeah.
wind subside.
People don't understand it.
No.
didn't go to school or don't go to school there.
Yeah.
It's a different beast. It is
Yeah.
because
I tried to
that lake, it's a great lake, right?
I tried to
Well,
explain that to my wife once, and she was like, why'd you go there?" And I was like, it was great. She's like,
Awesome.
I went to school in Washington, D.C. If we had an inch of snow, they shut everything down.
Yeah.
You guys never had school closed. I was like, yeah, it was like we went to school. It was windy, it was snowy, and we went to school. That was
you just
it.
deal with
Wins.
it. You just find ways to get there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Inch of
you
snow.
bundle up layers and go. Yeah, I remember one of the lake effect events my freshman year. Um, we had a month, and this is why I went to Oswego because I wanted to see this lake effect snow, right? And I put all my eggs in one basket, so I'm going there. That's it. Um, I remember walking to calculus class, and Dr. Rayner, he was my professor. He was an older gentleman, very passionate, instructor. And he was going, teaching his stuff, doing the formulas and equations, and then he just stopped. He's like, his mouth opened up, and he's looking out the window, and it was like a white sheet was in front of the window. And I remember walking to class, it was like pea soup, like a pea green sky.
Hmm.
It was
Oh,
like a
Yeah.
summer thunderstorm just south of the campus. It moved over the campus, and the my advisor said they don't cancel school in Oswego. They didn't cancel school when I was visiting back in the early mid 90s. They don't cancel school here.
Hmm.
You just go. We haven't
yeah.
canceled school since 1977. I was like, you haven't had a snow day since 77? They're like, nope. I was like, wow. So that particular storm dumped 3+ feet of snow. They had to close the campus down halfway through that day. And the next day it was like a half day. Some classes were canceled. It was crazy. I think we had 16 inches of snow in 2 hours.
Oh
8 inches per hour it was snowing.
my God.
Thunder
Jesus.
snow. I mean, it was the wildest. To this day, I've never seen snow that heavy in
That's
my life.
insane.
I walked
16
out of
inches
class
in two
SNIG. I
hours.
couldn't even find my way back to scales. I was like, where am I?
Man.
Disorienting. It was actually kind of scary. I was
Wow.
like, this is crazy. It was like
Yeah.
thunder and lightning. The thunder was muffled because it was snowing so hard.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was wild. But I was like, this is why I'm here. This is it. This is the best. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't think that, obviously. You guys are probably thinking you guys are nuts. No.
No, I think it's great. I love it.
It was the experience, right?
Mhm.
You're not going to experience
Can't go to
that
school
any
there if you don't like it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Obviously, you have a passion for meteorology, but is there another passion you had before you chose meteorology? We talked about sports before you came on and started the podcast. Is there anything else you wanted to do besides meteorology?
I mean, I think I was, growing up, I have a passion for basketball. I played basketball from, a young age into high school. I wanted to play at SU. That was kind of my,
We all did. I
yeah,
think.
right, exactly. That's the childhood dream, right? I was like, yeah, we got this. Reality sets in, you're like, yeah, that's definitely not happening. So yeah, I had a passion for sports and music. Actually, I really love music, even though I only played piano for like a year and a half. But I do really appreciate and love music, sports, and weather. Those my three passions. Besides my son too. So besides that, yeah.
That's a given. That doesn't count.
That's a
Right.
given.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what led you to that passion for meteorology? Uh, you know, uh, besides the other stuff that you had mentioned.
Um, so led me to the passion of meteorology. So I guess I would say my earliest memories I have back when I was like probably 2 or maybe 3 years old. Remember snow being kind of decorating the evergreens, the trees, going up to my grandparents' house. Um, and it was just so cool. I loved the look of it. I remember thinking, I'm like, that's cool. Huh. And I just kind of, it all started there. It's like I was born with it. I don't know. That I do remember thinking that though. I remember as a little kid looking out my parents' window as we drove by and we're driving up to their house. They lived up on Onondaga Hill.
Hmm.
And so it was always a little snowier up there because they're
Sure.
all
Yeah.
up. And just seeing the snow like literally burying those trees and just kind of sitting on those blue spruces and thinking it was so wild, so cool. So that kind of made me that started it. And then I was almost I say this may be a little bit dramatic, but oh, I had a little bit of a near-death thing happen to me when I was 6. I was 6 years old. It was a hot summer day. My mom had punished my sister and I for whatever we were doing, horse playing. So, right, brother, sisters, 2 years apart. That's what
Sure.
happens, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's normal. Brothers, sisters, whatever. So we were in our rooms. I remember looking out. It was like hot, muggy, and I saw this, yeah, very ominous, dark sky, and it was kind of coming toward us. And my mom comes running upstairs, and I was just like, "Oh, that's cool! What a cool looking sky!" Saw the lightning in the distance. My mom was like, "Come on, guys, let's go." And she was getting us down. She's like, "We gotta go to the basement." I'm like, "Basement? Why are we going to the basement?" I was like 5 or 6 years old. So we get downstairs, and I slip out of my mom's grip, right? Because the wind was starting to whip, and lightning was going wild. And I was like, "This is cool." And she got my sister down. Then she comes running up. She's like, "Let's go." And as she's coming up to get me, we had like one of the biggest trees in the neighborhood in front of our octagonal window in our living room. It was standing right in front, and I saw it come down. Like
Oh,
so, it
Whoa.
came down this way instead of this way. So if it
Ooh.
comes this way, I'm like maybe 25, 30 feet away. I was right in the line. I would have been in the line of fire.
Oh man.
And so it,
Jeez.
it hit, knocked and killed about 3 other trees, destroyed and smashed our mailbox, started a fire on our house. So we had a wire coming off our house to the telephone pole.
wow.
So we had the fire department there. It was very intense, and it scarred me. I mean, I actually had a counselor because anytime a thunderstorm came after that, I like have a panic attack
Sure.
That's
after
crazy.
that experience.
Man.
And yet you still wanted to
So
become a meteorologist.
Right.
so that yeah, right. So that right there, that experience, and I don't tell that
Maybe
story
that's the
to young
therapy.
kids, but that experience made me want to understand more about thunderstorms. Like I want to learn more about this so I know when they're coming and I can, just have a better grip of it and it'll make me more calm and that in fact that's what happened. But I don't, curl up into a ball anymore when a thunderstorm happens. Can you imagine?
No judgments.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
of
right,
course
right.
not.
Well, what's John doing over there in the corner? Thunderstorm
While
coming.
he's working.
Right.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's my meter. How bad it's going to be. How much he curls up. How small he curls up into a tight ball. Uh,
Were you a meteorology major at Oswego?
yes, I went to Oswego to get my meteorology degree. Right, 4-year degree. Graduated in '99. I can't believe it's been that long. We talked about this
Yeah.
before we started this podcast. It's just it doesn't seem like it's been 25 going on 26 years. Just as doesn't. But
No.
yeah, I had a great time up there. I had so many great memories in Oswego. I did Harbor Fest in the summer between the years I was up there and even a little afterwards. I had tons of a lot of intense work and
Mhm.
academics, but boy, I had a lot of fun too. It was like my father told me when he dropped me off at 18 years old. He's like shook my hand. He's like, have fun, get your work, wait, let me restate that. Get your work done, have fun. It's all about balance. You get one free ride, one free shot.
Hmm.
If you mess this up, you're on your own, basically. Those were his parting words. Have fun. See ya. And then he
Sounds like
walked
my
away.
parents.
My mom's sobbing, meanwhile,
Yeah.
hugging me, and she's like, "Oh my gosh," and all that. And so that was my yeah departure from home to college when I started school. But yeah, it was a great experience. It really was.
There are a lot of students who start as meteorology majors at Oswego. I know a few friends of mine who even started as meteorology majors, but they switch out pretty quickly. What
Yes,
do you think is the cause of it?
it's
Is it
math.
is
Math.
yeah.
Yep, it's very intense in math. People hate math. I mean, I'll tell you. So we started in my class as a freshman. We had about 30, 35 students. Graduated 8 by the time I graduated senior year. So we that
Whoa.
attrition that much attrition occurred. I just saw everybody was just dropping like flies. Basically, if you don't have the passion for meteorology and weather, why would you want to take a curriculum that intense? It just
Yeah.
just wouldn't make sense. I mean, you had to take Calc 1, 2, 3, differential equations, statistics. Those are all your math. So basically, when you graduate a
What?
meteorology degree, I almost have a math minor.
Yeah, I'm like, you're basically a math teacher.
You're
Right,
right.
right,
I was going to
exactly.
say you can go teach high school math.
Yeah, right. You're there. You're right there. It was intense. I mean, I didn't take calculus in high school. I didn't take pre-calc. And my
Mhm.
advisor, when I signed up to take Calc 1 without pre-calc, he was like, I wouldn't do it, John. I would not do it. I think it's gonna be it's challenging enough with having pre-calc, but to do it without taking any calc at all and just going from trig in high school to try to do college calculus, I think it's a little nuts. But do
Yeah.
what you think you got to do. So I was like, no, I'm doing it. I want to, I want to be, I've got this. I'll figure it out. I've always had a way to figure things out. I'm telling you, I was sweating with a D in
Yeah.
November. And I
Oh,
was like,
no.
oh my gosh, the tutors. I was like, oh, and you have to get a C, right? You got to get at least a C minus.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't get credit for that class when it's in your major. It's a requirement.
Yeah.
So I was sweating, and I went to this guy's dorm room because I he was a math major. He was a year older than me. He was a sophomore, and I was a freshman. And his name was Joe Hickey. Lived in Seneca Hall. He's like, John. He's like, why don't you come up to my dorm room? I'll work with you. He's like, I want to be a teacher, a math teacher. Let me see what I can do. Okay. I'd used like 2 or 3 different tutors by this point. I'm like, I'm desperate. I'm like, I just need somebody need to be my savior. Otherwise, I'm literally not going to pass this class. So I go in there and for 45 minutes to an hour, and light bulb went off the way he was showing me, and I got it. And got
Wow.
A minus or B plus in my last exam, and then ended up getting on my final like an A minus, and end up getting a C plus in Calc 1.
Wow.
And from that point, once you have the base, the base, right? And that's because you need to have that basic understanding of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
concepts, and you can build because math just keeps building, right? So that was the aha moment, the light bulb that I have him to thank for getting through all those maths.
So how are you using all that math? Like, where does all that math come into play?
So we do look at a ton of numbers, but I'm not using any of that calculus in broadcast meteorology.
I mean,
Zippo. Yep, nothing.
come on.
Uh, and whoever watches this, hey, if you're aspiring meteorologist, you're watching this podcast right now, uh, you got to do it. There's certain class. I tell my son, he's a freshman up at OCC. I'm like, Caden, he's like, oh, the class is so hard. I'm like, you got to do it. You just got to suck it up and just do it. Just put your head down and grin and bear it. Because yeah, you'll probably never use that class. That's true. But you just got to get there. And what
Mhm.
it shows
Yeah.
you, it's going to build character, and it's going to show people that are going to maybe look to hire you once you get out of college with that degree that hey, this guy has, perseverance. He can, he can work hard and figure things out. I said that's what it's really about, right? I mean, because I feel like, yeah, there are obviously some curriculums that you're going to use your degree more so than others. And I do. My meteorology degree, I absolutely use a lot of that knowledge. I do. There's certain aspects of it in the courses I had to take to get the degree. I don't use it. I don't use any of that. But I had to do the courses, just to get the degree, which I think everybody does that. Everybody has a
Yeah.
course or a handful of courses. You're like pulling your hair out, studying until hours of the night, just to try to get, a passing grade or a C or B,
Mhm.
just to do well, right? I always thought if I put 120% in, um, and I still don't do well, at least I know I tried.
But you're still using, I mean, you're still using a lot of that meteorology degree that you got, right? A lot of that knowledge. Maybe it's not the math part of it, but you're still using a lot of it today, right? You're
Right,
not, it's still
right.
not, it's not nothing.
No. And here's the thing. Listen, my friend Scott Steiger, he's a professor up there, and you guys spoke with him before.
Yeah.
He, as a teacher, he uses all a lot of it,
Hmm.
right? All the math and such. He's working with and using. Depends on the sector you go into, right? When you graduate, like I'm in broadcast, and we use a lot of numbers we look at, yes, but I'm not using it. I'm using it differently. I'm not looking and breaking down formulas and whatnot. I'm applying the knowledge that I gathered in Oswego and since Oswego State, right? You're always learning, and using that information that that forecasting skills that I attained in college, because we would do forecasts for hours when I was in college, especially my last 2 years. We had contests and stuff we would do. We had a national contest, local contest, and I'm competitive, so I always wanted to do well. And if I didn't, then I'd get very frustrated. So it was like you need to shoot for the top, and hopefully you'll end up, within the first 5 or 6 anyway, out of the 15, 20 people in those games. But so I really have Oswego to thank for, I mean, they had great professors up there in the meteorology
Mhm.
department. And they just, anytime you had a question, you'd ask them, what is this? What do you think's going to happen here? And they just kind of give you their insights. And that stuff has been, very valuable to this day, that information I got.
When you set foot on campus as a meteorology major, were you set on doing it for TV, or was there maybe another sector you were looking at?
That's a great question, Kevin. I actually didn't know. I had no idea. I knew I was going to weather. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. I was like, oh boy, I don't really know. I remember talking to my parents after my freshman year. Between my freshman and sophomore year, I sat down with them. I was like, I gotta start to make a decision here. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with it. Like, I love weather, but
Mhm.
I mean, I guess I could work for the National Weather Service. I'm not interested in teaching really, at a college level. I don't think, maybe research. I don't know. I just didn't know. I really had no idea. National Weather Service, I remember, was a thought. And then my parents were like, well, you're social, you have a good, clear speaking voice, you clean up pretty well, maybe try TV. And I was like, maybe I could. I can still see where I was sitting in my parents' living room. There's three of us were sitting there talking. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll try it. I was kind of nervous. I remember I was like, I don't know if that's for me though. I mean, I guess I could give it a shot. That the college, they got a college campus station there.
Yeah.
I'll try it. So sure enough, I walked into TOP, but started my sophomore year and tried out. And I remember it being so much harder than I thought it was going to be, right? And we all worked at TOP, right? I remember
Mhm.
going on camera and being like, whoa, like deer in headlights, right? It's like that moment you're like, and then finishing the tryout or whatever they called it, and walking off and being like, that was horrible. That was horrible.
So I felt.
Yep.
I mean,
Same here.
like, why would
Consensus.
they put
Yeah.
me on TV? That was terrible. Unless they're looking for a laughing stock.
Did you end up doing mornings at the beginning?
So
Did
yeah,
you
I
do like
did, right? So I did, right.
like
I
eight
think
o'clock
that's
in the
really
morning or whatever it
Ugh.
was?
yeah. What was that?
It was like 8 o'clock in the morning or
Yeah, it was
something
eight
like
o'clock in
that.
the morning. And for a college student, gosh, I remember
That's
getting
rough.
up
Oh,
brutal, right? I mean, I did have some 8 o'clock classes, but it was a morning. I didn't have a class at 8. You got a 9 something class. I don't know, Tuesday or Thursday. Well, I think it was a Tuesday. And yeah, I was so nervous. Remember, I just remember being so nervous when I started, and some of my classmates they'd watch or whatever. Because I started going in the evening then as I think my junior year. And they're like, that was good, man. That was good. You did good. I'm like, you think? I'm like, I think it was terrible. But okay. You're always your own worst critic too. And
Yeah.
what,
Yep.
19, 20 years old. So yeah, so I kind of started getting more comfortable though with TV at TOP. So that's where it kind of all started for me. I wasn't completely comfortable, but it kind of like planted that seed. I'm like, oh, I think I could do this. I think this could work. And I found out, how I could do financially with it. Could I actually have sustain a normal life, a good life doing this? And I was like, yeah, that's not bad. Okay. And then I went into the working world in '99. A month after I graduated, I had a job in Binghamton at I think it was WIVT, News Channel 34. It was an ABC affiliate station. So I worked at J.C. Penney's at Shopping Town. Not really dating myself, selling suits. And then on the weekends, I drive down to Binghamton and work the night shift down there. And then I filled in during the week when the chief or the morning girl was out. Steve Principali, he was the chief at the time. And Melissa something was Melissa Cole. Yeah, it's amazing how these names sometimes pop up. But yes, I did that for 5 months. I remember 2 months in, I was literally doing 3 shows a week. You aren't getting better doing 3 shows a week for the most part. You're just not going to. And I remember looking at my parents, I was like, I suck. Like, I just suck. And I'm not getting better. I'm like, I don't think this is for me. I was like having like a panic attack. I was like, this is horrible. Like, what am I going to do? I don't even know what I'm going to do. I guess I could go to the National Weather Service, I guess. So I went to my news director. This was September or October of '99. And I walked, I said, can I talk to you? Bill Colley, his name was. And I sat down in his office and he's like, I said, I think this is not for me. He's like, why, John? And I'm like, because I just am terrible. I'm not getting better. I mean, I'm on 3 times a week. I do 3 or 4 weathers. That's it. It's just not working for me. I'm not comfortable. I'm nervous. I'm stumbling. He's like, okay, let me tell you, I've been in this business like 30 something years by that point he had been. And I've worked in Syracuse. I've worked in some big markets. He's like, I know when I see somebody that has talent. And you've got it. You've got the it factor. And I was like, huh? I'm like, what? I'm like, I mean, I'm not terrible. He's like, mm-mm. He's like, I know I know what I see. I just know it. He's like, do what you want. I can't force you, obviously. He's like, but can you just give me a month? I'm gonna get you a full-time job. I'm gonna get you a full-time job so you can get more reps and you'll get more comfortable. So can you just give me that one more month? I said, all right, deal. Okay. So I walked out of the office. A week later, I got a phone call from the news director in Utica, John Swan, and he said, I got a full-time job for you. I heard you were looking for something. And so I did mornings and noon show in Utica. I commuted from Syracuse. Craziest. I had to get up at 2:30 in the morning, 2 in the
Oh,
morning, and then drive an hour from my doorstep, my parents' doorstep, to the station in the middle of the night,
oh
and then drive
man.
back at 1 in the afternoon when I'd fall asleep off and on. And honestly, if I didn't have those rumble strips that just had come out in
Yeah.
98, I wouldn't be here today. Because I don't, there were so many of those drives from Utica to Syracuse. I have no idea. I don't remember anything. Like, how the heck did I
Yeah.
just get back here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was it. So Bill Colley, he was the one that is the reason why I'm in the position I'm in right now.
He
Uh,
saved your
Wow.
job.
he really did. He saved it's my broadcast career. He was the one that stopped me from quitting. Yep, and going on to something else.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy the turns, right? The twist and because I was right there about to just leave and it would have been I would have figured out and done something, been fine. But the toughest thing about the broadcast field is the hours. Definitely. Hours are tough. I love what I do, I really do. But the hours can kind of take a toll on you a little bit. I mean, right now my hours are pretty good. I do a little bit of a crazier shift on Sunday so I can have Saturday off. But so I do a 4-day work week right now. I mean, I was doing mornings for a number of years. I think 15 years into my career, I've done mornings, which is, being at work by 3:30, and you're there until 12:30, 1 o'clock. So it's tough going to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock, getting 5, 6 hours of sleep, and
Mm.
then you got to be on. Like you can't go and be
Yeah.
like you got to bring high
Yeah.
energy and be sharp. Like you can't be
Yeah.
stumbling around. So that is the most difficult thing about the broadcast sector is that I would say. And I will eventually when I'm out of this part of the field or whatever, and whatever happens here in the future. I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is when a big storm comes, I can just sit there and just watch it and not know that I'm not gonna have to necessarily work it, right? I can
Yeah.
enjoy it and not have to be like, oh, I gotta do all this work now too. Like I love snowstorms, but knowing it's gonna come with a price too. So
Have you ever thought about trying to move on to like a larger market?
so yeah, so I had 2 stints in New England. The one was in Springfield, like you said, and I had a short 5 month stint in Hartford, Connecticut, which is, it was top 30. That was back in 2006. So I was pretty young still in my career and had that. It was an amazing opportunity. I had some life things happen. I had to make some changes and I had to leave 6 months in. But
Mm.
I was worked at the NBC there in Hartford, NBC 30. Brad Field, I don't know if anybody knows that name, but he was the chief, Brad Field there. Bob Maxon, he was the number 2 guy, but had a great time out there. The timing wasn't right for things I had happening in my life at the time, so I had to depart. But so that was my taste of the major market, where they literally had your newscast kind of like metered like for every 5 minutes, which was wild. To see what the ratings to see how it's more cutthroat in the major markets for sure.
Hmm.
That was interesting. So I had that little taste. Um, I'm from this area. I do have, a few connections down in Boston and down in like Philadelphia, New York area. I have a connection or two. I would say at this stage of my career, I don't know. Like it was always when I came out of college, I was like, yeah, I want to get to the major market. I want to go big, go big or go home, you know. At 22, 23 years old. I was like, yep, I want it gotta be top 30 by 30 years old. I gotta be in the top 30, which I then achieved in Hartford, right? 28. I'm like, good deal, here we go. And then life happens. So I left and I have not, I haven't entertained that. I mean, I've thought about it, it's been in my head, right? And it's like, well, so now it's like, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, it's a long-winded answer. I'm sorry, but I don't know.
Well, before we get you out of here, John, we ask all of our alum guests this question about food because we love food around here. Not sure if you do. I'm pretty sure
I
you
do
do.
love food.
Of course, everyone loves food. Who the hell doesn't
Right,
love food?
right. The Italian food
Oh, hey, all right, good.
specifically.
That's fine.
There you go.
So when we were in Oswego and we overlapped, obviously,
Yep.
the thing at the dining hall was the chicken patty sandwich. We love a good old chicken patty sandwich. Did
Yep.
you enjoy a chicken patty sandwich while you were at Oswego?
I definitely did. Definitely did enjoy the chicken patty sandwich. You know what I liked about the dining halls? What I loved one of my favorite meals there would have been the breakfast dinners. I
Hmm.
love the French
Yeah.
toast sticks and
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
right?
wonderful.
The
Wonderful.
pancakes and at that age you could just eat for days. Just keep going.
Right.
It's
Just
like
drown everything in syrup and
syrup,
butter. Ah,
3 or 4
And not gain
glasses
any
of
weight.
juice,
Great.
Yeah.
slamming them down. I mean,
wonderful.
late night. Remember late night,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
of course. Get nice. Yeah. Oh, gosh.
How about so did you guys do what's the Sligo sub shop, right?
Of
Of
course. I mean,
course.
of course.
Cheeseburger
So
sub.
cheeseburger sub was our go-to. Did you have a
Cheeseburger
go-to
sub,
sub?
okay. Yep, yep. Yeah, that was great. What was the other thing? They had that New York style bagel shop too, was there. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, it
Vaguely.
was
Vaguely.
that was their yeah, it was
It was,
I
I
think
don't
it
know
was
how long it was there. They used to
I forget what it was
swap
called, but it
the
wasn't called
cream
New York
cheese.
Bagel. It was called something else.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was called. It was right on Main Street there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, there was a New York pizzeria was right next door
Yep.
to it.
Right. And
Yes.
it was pretty
Yes,
close to
yes.
maybe Buckout Brewery. Was it
Yep.
Buckout?
Yep, which is no longer there
Which is
anymore.
now a diner and
Yeah,
a museum. So
yeah.
There's so
A
many things
children's
that
museum nonetheless.
it is children in there.
it's wild. I know the shed that's gone.
Liquor
Hmm.
store. Yeah.
Greens.
Gone.
I
Now a
do
health
think
food store or something like that.
right, exactly. Yeah, that's what it is, I think. And the Gaslight might still be there. The Gaslight. Did you guys ever go to the Gaslight?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right down
Down
that little
below?
alley there.
Yeah,
Yep.
the alley. Go
Yeah.
Yep.
downstairs.
Yep.
Old City's still there.
Old City's
Old
still
City, right?
there.
Old
Yeah.
City.
The Sting is still there, but I think it might be closing actually.
Sing clothes. There's too many incidents.
Yeah, they did. I
Um,
know. What the heck?
The Brick
I've
is
seen
still
that.
there.
What is
Then
still
there's a
there?
bunch. Then there's a bunch. The Brick, but then
Oh,
there's
the
a bunch of
Brick.
new bars that I have no clue what they are.
the Raven. I think you
That
guys
wasn't there when we were there though.
No, are you
No.
sure?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it went in. It went in the year after I graduated, I think, because my
Yeah, it
sister,
was there
she's
in
2 years
2000.
younger. She's well, 45, almost 46 now, and she, yeah, she was there. I remember going up and visiting her, and we went to the Raven. It just opened though.
Yeah.
Was not there when I was there.
Yeah, it was a cool bar. That was a cool
Yeah.
bar.
It was cool.
Very
Did
cool
you
bar.
talk your sister into attending Oswego?
So, right, you would think, yeah. Well, she actually came up when I was up there as a freshman and sophomore, and go out and party with us on the weekends. Once, not all the time, once in a while. My parents, I mean, they knew because I was very protective of her,
Mhm.
and of course, a few of my buddies. My sister was, attractive, and they were like, my buddies were like, "Hey, that's your sister?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Don't get any ideas." So we'd go out, and I'd be like, "Just with me, stay with me."
That's
And
funny.
we had such a good time, right? She ended up that was it. It drew her up. She's like, I'm
Wow.
going up there, and she's
Nice.
like, I'm not following you. So she says, she's like, I'm not following you, but it is nice. I like it up there, and because she was going to go to Fredonia, that's where she was going to go
Mm,
because she was a graphic design major, and they have a lot of arts out there.
yeah.
So like music and art stuff, degrees. They were known for that. But when she went to Oswego, they also had a pretty good graphic design program. So it
Mhm.
ultimately drove her to go to Oswego.
She must also have liked a cheeseburger sub and a chicken patty sandwich.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. Yes.
I
Yeah,
mean,
she had a lot of those. good food experiences. Uh, she didn't like the dorm experience much though. She wasn't in, she wanted their space. So she lived on campus for 1 year and then moved in with a bunch of girlfriends to one of the houses in Oswego. And they just kind of, and I thought to myself, I don't know about you guys, but I was like, I've got my food taken care of, my dishes get cleaned. I literally just have to do laundry, and that's all I gotta do. Why would I want to put myself into a house and have to
Yeah.
do all those chores? And after I graduate at 22 years old, I could do that all the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm gonna take advantage of
So
being
true.
pampered.
Yeah, right.
Because I had a couple of my buddies try to get me to move off campus. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I had good roommates, so that probably was part of it too. I got
Yeah.
lucky with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was yeah, it was good to go to those parties, house parties, and have fun with people, but then just come back to my dorm room and just,
Not have to clean up after. Not have to clean up the next day.
right.
Dude, that was the worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
Well, John, we really appreciate you coming on with us tonight. We'd love to have you on again at another time.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. And thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for the invite. And yeah, I'd love to come back. So you guys just let me know.
And that was SUNY Oswego alum and News Channel 9 Storm Team meteorologist John DiPasquale. That was a very good interview. I thought he was very good, guys.
Yeah. Broadcast professional, man.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the man.
We'll switch gears a little bit. We'll talk about the game coming up this coming Sunday.
Ugh,
You know, for some people it's just the lesser of two evils, I guess. You pick either, Kansas City or Philadelphia. I mean, I'm going for Kansas City because I could never root for the Eagles. Like, I would rather gouge my eyes out with a spoon than root for the Eagles. So
agreed.
I mean, no, their fans are insufferable, but I mean, the Chiefs are insufferable too.
Oh,
I
they
just,
are.
I also don't hate the Chiefs as much as most people do.
I
So.
don't hate them. I'm just tired of them. Just go away. Just Kelsey, just retire. Go marry Taylor Swift and just go on tour
You
with
can.
her, okay?
Have you guys seen? You can actually put a prop bet down on if he's going to propose to her after the game or not.
Oh wow,
man.
You can
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
the what was it, plus 750 that he would? I think?
Really?
Yeah,
Plus
I think it was
750.
something like that. I don't remember off
I
the
would-
top of my head, but
I put a 10-ski on that.
Could you like bet on Kelsey to retire after the game and then parlay that with the Taylor Swift proposal?
Yes.
And you
I
could
mean,
really
why not?
clean
I
up?
love the way you're
why,
thinking.
why not? I mean,
Plus 2,000. I mean, come on. Parlay that bad boy.
yeah. I mean, why can't you? I mean, I would imagine you could. I don't see why you can't.
I'd put a hundy on that one. Parlay.
All right. You do that, Chris. Go ahead.
Look, I bet you if you did that and you won, you'd make a handsome bunch of
Yes.
cash right there.
Yes, it would be very handy. It'd be very
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, Kevin,
yeah.
really quick before we get out of here, the last blog that I wrote, I had a whole
Mhm.
bunch of predictions for 2025. So
Yes.
far, none of them have panned out. So
So I'm glad I didn't bet on them. Is what you're saying.
don't bet on anything I've said.
Whew. I'll tell Leah that save some money.
Yeah, although I
Or I'll
still
bet the
stand
opposite.
by.
Maybe I'll just bet the opposite and win.
I still stand by Liverpool's going to win the league and the Champions League. So, and the Mets are going to win the World Series. I mark it, book it, baby.
Damn it! Now you jinxed it. Way to go.
Shoot.
Twice.
What are we gonna do?
Look, my high school yearbook, I put in Mets 1997 World Series champions. So I may have jinxed the Mets for life with that. You never know.
Yeah, they weren't that good then, anyway. So it really don't matter.
No, I knew they weren't. So it was funny. It was humorous, I thought.
Yeah. Oh well. On that note, we had a great discussion with John. You guys can all find us at our email address. You can find us on all the socials. We're everywhere. If you haven't heard it already, if you don't know where it is now, you're never gonna know because we tell you every time. So just go to Facebook, go to LinkedIn, go to Instagram, or anywhere else, and you'll find it.
Yeah, throwingbagels.com. That's all.
Bagels.com.
Yeah, go to
do you know what our
throwingbagels.com.
email address is, Kev? Jason?
I do, but you know what? No one needs to hear it.
He doesn't want to take that step.
No one needs to
but-
hear it. Nobody needs to hear it. All right. Anyway, Kevin, Chris,
Jason,
a good one.
Kevin. Stay safe out there.
See ya.
bye.